had now arrived in Somalia. Right around the same time I was there, covering a story about how a group known as the Islamic Court Union had just seized control of Mogadishu and brought a sense of calm to the capital streets after a decade and a half of war.
It's pretty insane walking down this road that people haven't been able to walk down in 15 years. And you can see why, because the whole place is completely destroyed.
The Islamic courts promised to unite the country under the banner of Islam, touching off a wave of optimism among Somalis in exile.
These are some of the first flights landing here in 15 years. Everyone's coming back to their homeland. It's incredible.
Thousands of Somali refugees began swarming home in hopes that years of bloodshed had finally come to an end. But the fragile peace that accompanied Omar's arrival in Somalia quickly unraveled.
These are the only targets.
Ethiopia's Christian-controlled government was alarmed by the potential rise of an Islamic State on its border. 1 month after Omar landed in Mogadishu, thousands of Ethiopian troops invaded with the backing of the United States, who accused the Islamic courts of having ties to Al-Qaeda. The invasion triggered Islamists from all over the country to call for a global jihad, a holy war, to drive out the Christian invaders.
No rational, practicing religious Muslim that is talking to you honestly is ever going to tell you that, like, if they were right next to Somalia whenever the ICU came in power, weren't at least a little tempted to go fight for these people. Because it was jihad. That's it. You're never there's very few instances where there's like clean-cut jihad. You know, there's non-Muslims attacking a Muslim country. They're defending themselves on basis of their health, their wealth, their families, their religion. This is one of them.
An insurgency was born as thousands of Islamists began heading to the capital city, answering the call of jihad. More than 30 young men have disappeared from Minneapolis and from Omar's old stomping grounds in Toronto, only to show up in Somalia fighting with Al-Shabaab.
Ndugu zangu Waislamu na wasihi kwamba jihadi ni kweli na hiko na itaendelea mpaka siku ya kiyama ambapo Isa alayhi salam atakuja na jihadi hapo ndio itakuwa kikomo. Lakini hadi sasa jihadi inaendelea na sisi wote hapa tuko katika hali ya kutafuta nusra mashahada.
We pray on him, we didn't wash him, we buried him as he was, because we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept him as a Shahid.
I say to you, my brothers who are working for the Sharia inside Somalia, that Allah will give you the Nasr, Allah will give you the victory. In Shaa Allah.
Even though the Islamist Al-Shabaab control most of Somalia, it was always going to be hard for the West to accept them as part of the country's future. Now it seems impossible. But for most people here, they are respected for bringing security after 20 years of civil war and for resisting the corruption that is common in Somalia.
Comme tout le nord du Mali, Tombouctou désormais vit sous le régime de la charia, la loi islamique qui interdit l'alcool. Il n'y a de Dieu que Dieu, dit le Coran, qui proscrit les idoles, comme ces statuettes en bois des divinités traditionnelles africaines.
On est venu ici pour vous enseigner la vraie foi. Ces statuettes, vous ne le saviez peut-être pas, mais elles sont interdites par l'islam. Il faut arrêter de les vénérer, compris?
Ces gris-gris censés protéger du mauvais sort. La superstition, les croyances ancestrales, tout ça aussi, c'est terminé. Ces combattants d'Ansardine sont repartis vers d'autres quartiers de Tombouctou. Allahu Akbar, disent-ils, Dieu est grand. Et rien, pour l'instant, ne peut les arrêter.
So you have Mujahideen in Timbuktu. I'm sure none of you knew that Mujahideen were there. Brothers and sisters, the people in Mali are implementing the Sharia as of this morning. Please make dua for Mali. They have started to implement the Islamic Sharia. And this revolution will grip the whole of West Africa. You heard about Kairouan, you heard about Timbuktu. These are important Islamic seats of learning. The kuffar are going to spread themselves thin. They cannot fight every Muslim country that decides to implement an Islamic state and establish the Sharia. To implement the Sharia and establish an Islamic state. They cannot fight a guerrilla warfare in Africa against the Mujahideen. They are going to lose the war by the will of Allah.
Here, the fighters from Algeria and Mauritania mingle with Mujahideen from across the Sahel.
The Sahara could be the next Afghanistan, a wide open desert, a series of failed states with very weak militaries.
Most of their training camps are in the Sahel, in the Sahara, where the authorities cannot really get to them. It's a little bit like Afghanistan with the caves. I mean, such a deserted area that is controlled much more by tribes than by government.
They're training in the desert to carry out military assaults. And those same groups have carried out assaults on the armies of Mali, Niger, and Morocco. In fact, practice for taking on the U.S.
North Africa is one region where large numbers are coming home, but not to settle down peacefully.
We have seen the hand of Iraq veterans coming back into Algeria, Tunisia, Morocco, even Europe sometimes, with considerable skills, not only bomb making, but also advanced counterintelligence.
Those who commit injustice have a lot to be afraid of. The non-Muslim West has done many injustices to the Muslim people. Their worries and concerns reflect the guilt of their actions. All that we are asking is peace and security within our countries.